Okay, hey, I'm so excited to talk to you guys about linear piecewise functions today. Specifically, we're going to talk about linear piecewise functions in the context of an elevation versus time graph. So let's define a piecewise function, okay? So piecewise functions just break things into what it sounds like, pieces, okay? Piecewise function. Eureka has a very special and specific definition for piecewise linear functions. It has great language. I can't stress enough. Eureka uses very specific mathematical language, and I love that, but I also hate it because sometimes it's really difficult to understand. So let's break down what this is talking about. It says, a real piecewise linear function is a function from the union of the intervals on the real number line that is defined by possibly different linear functions on each interval. Ooh, lots of words. So piecewise linear function is a function from the union of intervals. When I talk about an interval, all I'm talking about is any amount of space on my x-axis defined by that space. So for example, this little U shape is defined on the interval. -1 is where it starts to +1 on my x-axis. This whole curve, assuming it goes on forever to the left, will reach -infinity. So you could say this whole piece of my function is defined all the way to -infinity up to +1. So it's defined on the interval -infinity to 1. This straight line right here is defined at 1 on my x-axis is where it starts to 2. So you could say it's defined on the interval 1 to 2, but that's not all of it. The whole thing probably occurs all the way until +infinity. So it's defined on the interval 1 to infinity. So when it says it's a linear function, it is a function from the union of intervals, it just means, hey, different functions are going to be lined up on my x-axis and they're going to meet each other in locations like these two meet here. This function is in union with this function. However, a linear piecewise function is special because the functions that are being united on that interval are lines, okay? So they do not have curves. So this is not, again, it is not a linear piecewise function. This is just a piecewise function, which is what I define here. Piecewise functions are created by slapping different pieces of functions together such that the graph passes the vertical line test. I put in the note that it has to pass the vertical line test because it does, okay? This technically passed the vertical line test because an open circle is telling you that a point doesn't exist on your graph. So there's really only one point here, this guy right here. And all functions have to pass the vertical line test. So there we go. At this point, you should have your notes looking something like mine. I'm going to put up a little screenshot of what it should look like by now, but you should have Module 1, Lesson 1 at the top. You should have piecewise functions as part of your title, and you should have this definition in there. When we're talking about a piecewise function, again, it can be linear or nonlinear. So I just want you to take a second to add to your notes either a linear or nonlinear function. Show you what that looks like. Next, we're going to talk about our classwork for tomorrow. So our classwork tomorrow requires that you create piecewise functions from a story or video. So you make a graph of a piecewise function given a story or video, or if I give you a graph, that you can kind of make up a story that makes sense based on the graph. So something that could have happened according to that graph. We're going to start our basic skills by just working on a story I made up. Okay, so let's read this kind of goofy story. Once upon a time, there was a bee. This bee had a wing injury, and thus was struggling to reach its desired flower. So sad. The bee started out on the ground. He was resting, and he was on the ground for 5 seconds, so 5 whole seconds. Then he flew to the top of a nearby mushroom, the world's smallest mushroom, because I didn't think about dimensions for this. That's about 1.5 inches above the ground. It took him 3 seconds to get from the ground to the world's tiniest mushroom. Then he rested on top of that mushroom for 2 seconds. He finally reached his flower after flying another 7 seconds, so like pretty long time. and the flower was 2 inches tall. He promptly fell to the ground after, poof, oh gosh, this bee just can't catch a break, and it took 1 second to do so. Sad story. Weird dimensions. Still is graphable. Okay, so in your notes, you don't have to write down the whole problem verbatim, but if you do, good for you, okay? I do recommend that above your graph or below your graph, though, you write in part of your word problem. So I wrote in bee flying to flower, because that's what the word problem's about, to remind me. And then I just took notes based on what the word problem told me. So it says the bee has a wing injury and was struggling to reach the desired flower. I don't really care about that. As far as my notes go, I do care in terms of the poor bee. So I'm not going to include that in my notes. Instead, I get straight to the business of 0 to 5 seconds on the ground, because it tells me the bee started on the ground and was there for 5 seconds. Then he flew to the top of a nearby mushroom about 1.5 inches above the ground. So I say, okay, he flies to a mushroom. It's 1.5 inches above the ground. It takes him 3 seconds to do so. So I don't know his height from 5 to 8 seconds. He's just flying. But I know that at 8 seconds, 3 seconds later than 5 seconds, he's at 1.5 inches off the ground. Okay. He rests on the mushroom for 2 seconds, so 8, 9, 10. He's on the mushroom for 8 to 10 seconds. And then he flies for 7 seconds, because it says it takes him, he finally reaches his flower after flying another 7 seconds. And the flower is 2 inches above the ground. So he flies for 7 seconds. I don't know how high he is at that point. He's going to reach the flower at 17 seconds, and that flower is 2 inches tall. Okay. He falls to the ground and is on the ground at the 18th second, because it only takes him 1 second to fall to the ground. Always, 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 if I'm showing you something, write it down. So you can write down my short notes, or you can write down the whole word problem, but you're going to want to write word problem 1 on here somewhere so that we're all on the same page and you know what this graph is of. Okay. And then I made a little chart just to help me think it through. In addition to those notes, I just broke it down a little easier. So my x values are my seconds and my y values are my inches. And so I'm just going to go through and graph this. And I already kind of did, just to give you guys a little bit of a head start. So it says from 0 to 5 seconds, he's 0 inches tall. So at 0 seconds, he doesn't go up at all. He's not a half inch, he's not a quarter inch, he's 0 inches tall. At 1 second, still 0 inches. 2 seconds, still 0 inches. 3 seconds, still 0 inches. 4 seconds, still 0 inches. 5 seconds, still 0 inches. And then for 6 and 7, he's flying. I actually don't know how high he is. I just know at 8 seconds, he's 1.5 inches tall. So I put 8 and I line it up with 1.5. 8 seconds, 1.5 inches tall. And then he rests there for 2 more seconds. So at 9 and 10, he's still 1.5 inches tall. He's resting on that mushroom. And then it takes him 7 seconds. So I go at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 17. He's 2 inches tall, according to our problem. And I just wrote that there, and it's up here too, right? So I go up to 17 seconds, and I say that's 2 inches. And then after a second, he falls to the ground, so he's 0 inches tall. So I put a point right here. And then I graph. You can see I got really excited the first time, and this happens. I tried to connect 0 to 8 seconds, but that's not how it's going to look. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to fill in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from 5 to 6, 7, 8 is this line. So we can approximate, if he was flying at a constant speed, what's going on at 6 and 7. Then we connect these guys as best as we can with a straight line. And then he flies up to the flower. And then he falls down to the ground. So here is my linear piecewise function. It's linear because they're all straight lines. It's piecewise because this is a graph with a slope of 0, right? A line with a slope of 0. This is a line with a slope of not 0, something else. 0, again, a positive slope, negative slope. So they're all lines slapped together. So let's talk about some basic components of a piecewise function. And I'm going to be writing my notes at the same time so that you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, An interval could be defined by any span of time on the x-axis. So we need to define the term interval. We already talked about it earlier. Intervals are chunks of time on the x-axis. However, when a problem in Eureka asks you what is the interval going to be, typically interested in intervals where a function changes behavior. So on our example, we call this an interval of interest. It goes from 0 to 5 seconds. And this is an interval of interest. It goes from 5 to 8 seconds. And this is an interval of interest. It goes from, excuse me, got a little itch there, 8 to 10 seconds. And this is an interval of interest, 10 to 17 seconds. And this is an interval of interest, 17 to 8 seconds. So when we're talking about intervals we're interested in, we're just talking about where does the graph kind of change behavior and where is it different. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intervals on our example graph. And that's what you're kind of going to be going for when Eureka asks you how many intervals a graph has. You could give random intervals, but they're really asking, hey, where are the pieces of my different functions? Where is it changing? Where is it the same? So we have 5 intervals of one line type, another line type, another line type, another line type, another line type. Notice that we can tell a lot from this graph. So flat lines show no change in elevation on our graph. So that's where our B is resting. But I want you to think about something. You don't have to be still for your elevation to stay the same. If we didn't know the story, the bee could also have just been flying at the same height. And if it were flying at the same height, the elevation wouldn't change. Because the height doesn't change if you're flying at the same height the whole time. So for example, if my story hadn't been how it was, and the bee were just flying at the same height for a couple seconds, you didn't change height, that would also give us a constant line. So keep in mind, just because that line is flat, it doesn't mean the person's not moving. It just means their elevation's the same. Ooh. Okay. Average rate, we'll fix that, doesn't look that great, of change is basically slope. And I mean that honestly. Average rate of change tells you the slope of a line that connects two selected points. This formula for it looks a little scary. It says f of b minus f of a all over b minus a. But if you take a look at this picture that I have on the screen on my slideshow, it's actually not that intimidating to look at. So when they say f of a, they just mean, hey, there's some x value a, and it's going to have a y value. We call that f of a. Remember, f of x is just a function found input. It's a fancy way of saying y. So you're going to have a point at a and a point at b, and all they want you to do is find the change in the y values, your y values, and the change in your x values. And so it's literally just the slope of a line between the 2 points they ask you for average rate of change. And that's going to let you know, hey, to get from here to here, you could follow this slope of this line and you'd get from this point to that point. Okay, so don't be scared by it. If you even want to, you can say y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, because literally it's the same thing, it's just fancier notation. Okay, so let's just talk about average rate of change a little more specifically while we have the notes up real quick. So I wrote down Average rate of change is basically the slope, which is what we summarized in our slide. I said f of b minus f of a over b minus a is basically just y2 minus 1 over x2 minus x1, because f of x represents y. So it's just saying, hey, your y value at x value a, your y value at x value b. I wrote example 4 because we had like a little example when we were talking about our b's elevation changing. So this is technically example 4. And example 4 asks us for the average rate of change from 1 to 2 on the x-axis and on just this little quadratic graph I drew right here. You don't have to know what a quadratic is yet? That's okay. So we're going to have to find the average rate of change from 1 to 2, which means I'm going to be looking at my x value at 1 and my y value at 1, as well as my x value at 2 and my y value when x equals 2. So first I just say, okay, when x equals 1, it has an output of 1. So the point is 1, 1, the first point I'm going to use for my slope formula. And then when x equals 2, my y value is 2.5. So that's the second slope I'm going to use for my slope formula. And then I just subtract in whatever order I want, but I have to subtract in the same order each time. So what I mean by that is, since I chose to subtract my y's, bottom to top, 2.5 minus 1, then I have to also subtract my x's, bottom to top. I couldn't say 1 minus 2, otherwise I get a negative number, and we don't want a negative slope because this is going in a positive direction. It's an increase and an increase. So I do 2.5 minus 1, 2 minus 1, and I get 2.5 minus 1 is 1.5, 2 minus 1 is 1, and so my average rate of change from this point to this point, the slope of a line through these 2 points is 1.5 or 3/2. So to get from this point to the other, I'd have to go up 1.5 and write 1. Okay, you survived. That's it for Module 1, Lesson 1 notes. If you're feeling a little extra, I'm going to put up an extra video that's how do I write a story from a graph, because that's kind of intimidating to do. And if you want to watch it before class tomorrow, great. If not, also great. You don't have to take notes on it. Thanks. Bye.